So we're doing this a little differently than we have in the past, because what has happened historically is that the tournament directors end up bearing a lot of the load. And they end up bearing a lot of the load to find other people to help. And so this year we're trying to intentionally get a number of people engaged early that feel ownership of their part of a tournament, so that really a tournament director will be more of an orchestra leader rather than the one playing all the instruments. And I realize that everybody often is willing to help and they're just not sure how to help. So that's why we're taking the time tonight to make sure everybody is feeling at least somewhat comfortable with what we're asking. But the hope is that we spread the load, that tournaments do not have to be really hard if everybody chips in. But when people start to bail, all of that stuff that you just heard starts falling on fewer and fewer people. My goal is to give the tournament directors a lot of people to delegate to, so that everybody has a bite-sized piece of this that they feel ownership for, and that with that ownership they feel a desire to make it excellent and to bless the people that they'll be touching in the process of that. Some of the roles that I'm about to show you are individual roles, like just you sign it up and you will do all the work associated with that job. Some of the roles actually are more involved. There are several sub-roles within that, and it will be that person's job to assemble a team to help accomplish all of those different pieces. When I was putting this together last night, I was walking a line of trying not to give you so much information that you just forget all of it. And I'll try to verbally walk through which ones are which. But the goal is that in the end, every individual contributes about the same amount of effort. It's just that they just are going to be different complementary roles. And then what I want you to know too is that behind this high-level thing I'm about to show you, there is an excruciatingly detailed list of tasks that if I showed to you, you would all run out the door immediately. But it is broken down at a very detailed level of every task, with every date that it needs to be completed by. And in fact, last night I was looking at the Stowe website. They have a tournament in a box kit, which I haven't looked at yet. I asked for access to, and I don't know if I got it yet or not. But you know, there are aids to help you do your job. You are not just floundering on your own to figure this out. Plus, we have people that have done it in the past. So I don't want anybody to feel like, I know you may not know what you're signing up for, but I don't want you to feel like you're stuck and you have to figure it all out on your own, because that's not the case. All right, so this is my attempt to try to break this into bite-sized pieces. And this is a building chart, so you'll get to see. So the way that I'm going to try to organize our conversation tonight is around some shared roles. And when I mean a shared role is that these roles will serve both the speech and the debate tournament. As Kevin and I were talking about it, getting ready, we're like, it would be harder to break it into two roles than it would be just to have one person serve both. It might imply that if you pick one of these shared roles that you will need to be there both days. But the expectation is that for the most part, families should plan to be there for both days, because this is our event. This is not like a regular tournament where you just show up to support your student. We will need speech parents on debate day. We'll need debate parents on speech day just to pull it all together. So hopefully that doesn't change anything regardless. So we need a facilities coordinator. This facilities coordinator will be responsible for setting up the facility, which, by the way, Patrick Henry gives us help to do it. So it's really more about steering where activity needs to happen. It'll also be that person will also be responsible for making sure it gets cleaned up at the end and we leave it in good condition. And there's a few other kinds of things that are really about making sure the facility is prepared and recovered when we're done. Judge recruitment. This is a big job. It takes a lot of judges to make a tournament go, especially a speech tournament. Every one of those many events with 6 rounds and finals has to have judges. So it takes a lot of people, and if you only have the parents doing it, it doesn't go very well. So there's an active role of someone that's going to recruit judges. We like to get our community involved. We've had a commitment from Patrick Henry that they're going to help engage some of their staff and the students that are in the area still during the spring break to help with that. So we think that there's going to be a pool of ready judges, but they still are going to need that personal touch to reach out to them.
Can I make a point that the person that's going to be the, what do you call these leaders or
I don't know,
coordinators or whatever. Anyway, the judge recruitment coordinator does not mean that you have to recruit all the judges that we need. It just means that you're reminding the parents, reminding the students. You're talking with Patrick Henry to find out about how many judges do they have coming from their faculty and student body that are on campus, because it's spring break, so they're going to be low. Sending out emails for people to be able to use, maybe creating or using the past updating the previous flyers that we've had, and then you're managing the judge and judge registrations, answering questions from judges, and then you're on site that day. You're the person who is, because you've touched all this, you're aware of who's coming when. So because we want to really treat our community judges very well. We want to treat them, so that they'll come back, and we want to honor them for their time that they're giving us. So anyway.
All right, so I'm not reading email. I actually had it listed out so I don't miss anything. So this shared judge recruitment person, it would be their job to do what Kim said, which is to organize the recruitment. From almost all of these jobs, it does not mean you do all of it yourself. But you need somebody that's helping create the publicity materials so that everybody can support. They're going to handle the check-in. I actually was talking to Kim about just separating that to a different role. She's like, no, if you build relationships with your judges while you're running up to it. And so she suggested that keeping the check-in together so that you understand that, Susie can't climb the stairs because she just had an accident. You need to make sure, it's that nurturing of our judges. The other thing is doing thank yous for them when they're done, or a thank you gift. We often do that. So again, not one person doing all of that. This is a team job right here. Back to facilities coordinator, that implies the rooms, picking the rooms for where events are going to occur. That is an important step. And you have to work with the Patrick Henry facilities people to know what rooms can do what. You're going to oversee the room setup and tear down. You're going to arrange for the meals, which Patrick Henry does all the heavy lifting on that, but you have to arrange for it. And then signage, like telling people where to go. Those would all be facilities things that the facilities coordinator, again, a team, a small team, a mini team to do that. The next shared role is overall tournament administration. This is a team as well, a mini team. So these would be things like publicity. We have our website, we use the STOA website. There are other ways we can advertise to try to get some national participation. You might be wondering why do you want a lot of people to come? Well, you don't want too many people to come, but you do want a lot of people to come because it makes it a better tournament. It makes for better competition. It gives our students, which this will be relatively late in the year, it'll give them diverse competition so that if they do make it to nationals, they don't show up and they're like, wow, I didn't know that, California did it that way. I wish I had seen that earlier in the year. Because every part of the country has strengths and weaknesses, and we learn a lot by recruiting people that come in from other places. So publicity is one of the roles. Handling the registration process. This team also includes the treasurer, which Barbara has been fantastic in the past to do that. I don't know if she'll do it or not, but she might be part of that team.
Hint, hint, hint.
A big job of the administration is the ballots, printing out the ballots, copying and printing those and getting them all organized. So these are running out.
So that's not in tabulation and ballots?
The tabulation ballots is once the
Okay.
event happens. This is doing the copying stuff
Okay.
up front. Name tags, getting the name tags ready, and then getting all the tournament supplies and equipment, like making sure the projectors are there, and the timers, and the pens, and all the stuff that you need to make it all come together. So again, this is a team, but we would need somebody that just owns that, says, I'm going to make this, all the administration stuff work. As you heard, a lot of this job is, the hard work is beforehand. you still have a role the day of, but most of your heavy work is done ahead of time. Any questions so far? Okay. Awards and ceremonies is exactly what it sounds like. It's procuring the awards, whatever those are, figuring out what the awards are going to be. We've done medallions in the past that work pretty well, but you might have a greater idea. We've had other years where we did money, we've done candy. If you go way back, some clubs are really creative. They have, there was one year they were giving away antique coins based on what place they got. So again, if you have creativity in this is your chance to make it great. We have ways we've done it in the past, but we're not stuck on any of those things.
There's some things the kids like and more than others. Just saying.
We do. We have some feedback, but yeah. And then it was also be organized in the award ceremony. So getting everything laid out, just whatever organization would need to be done, working with the facilities people to make sure that Patrick Henry sets it up the way we want them to for the awards.
Working with Patrick Henry too, because last year they contributed significant awards to the first and second place winners.
That's a good point. So I forgot that last year we didn't have a lot of expenses for the awards because Patrick Henry gave away scholarships to their teen camps. Did they give away any scholarships to school as well?
No,
they
but
didn't do that.
Sweatshirts for second place.
Sweatshirts. So other schools where this is happening, and that was the first year Patrick Henry had done it with us. They may up their game, or I don't know if they will or not. But other schools, like especially if it's a really big tournament, they'll actually give away scholarships, college scholarships, based on winning the tournament. So it would be this person's job to arrange all of that, whatever it's going to look like. And then finally, tabulation, also known as tab. This is the people behind the scenes on the computer, taking in all the scores, generating all the matches for next round, and eventually figuring out who's going to be in finals, who wins what award. The ballots piece is the completed ballots. This is where all the filled out ballots will flow to. And we have to make copies of those and file those so that at the end of the tournament, we've always told your students they get a lot of feedback at the end of a tournament. What they'll get is an envelope with all of their ballots from the day. Well, those don't automatically sort themselves. There has to be somebody there that copies those and sorts those and puts them in the envelopes. And so that usually happens in tabulation, since tabulation is where all those scores are being recorded anyway, so they're all there. But that's a team as well, small team, but a big job for the tournament. Yes?
So practically speaking, for the tournament administration, things like those little timers, I mean, do you have a whole stash of those, or?
We do. Sometimes they get lost, sometimes they get broken. None of this will imply like personal expense. Like any expenses you incur, they get charged back to the club. Barbara writes you a nice check, and that all comes out of the fees that we charge for the tournament. But it would be that person's job to figure out what do we have, what do we need to buy, and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And then that number depends on how many people register for the tournament
Mm-hmm.
and how many.
There's always this little dance we have to do, like how much we think we're going to have versus how many we really have. And that's why tournament cutoff registration dates happen, is because you need to stop everybody from moving and then nail it all down. But we can estimate up front. And if we need to, the facilities person working with the tournament directors can figure out what's the max. Like we know that we cannot have more than X number of students, so we're going to cut it off if it's any bigger than that.
So how many rooms did you have going last year?
16? Remember?
I thought it was 16.
Somewhere.
20, yeah, somewhere between 15 and 20 for the speech, but is that less for the
Less for debate.
Less for debate.
Right. So that's between 15 and 20 rooms at once that are going on that you need judges for. And
You got it.
Yeah, for speech tournament, we need a minimum of 300 judging slots filled for the day. So it doesn't mean we have 300 people, but if parents are doing a lot of jobs on, at the tournament, which is typically majority of us will have jobs that will be filling at the tournament, so our judging will be less than other parents who come to the tournament. But that's why a very high need for recruiting community judges.
Will there be junior
vector at the same time?
Yes.
Coming in just a second. So these are the shared roles. Again, the idea here is that trying to split this between, a speech and a debate tournament just didn't seem like it made a lot of sense. It was just, there was so much overlap between the two, it was just easier to have one person handle both tournaments for these green events. Now we have yellow events. Speech. We have a tournament director. They are the orchestra leader. I shouldn't make these references because we actually have a real orchestra professional in the audience. But the speech tournament director, you'll notice that I extended the bar because this group needs to take input and this person has these people at their disposal to help. But then we have speech unique kinds of roles that supplement or complement these shared roles. So the first is speech judge hospitality and orientation. It obviously works closely with the judge recruitment, but once the judges are on site, this person's job is kind of done except for saying thank you. It's now this person's job to make sure they're fed and make sure they're trained and make sure that they get to the places they need to go. Speech ballot push. I know this push word if you've never done it. It's called push because it's where it's chaotic is what it is. So you'll have all these rooms that you need judges for. And there will be somebody, usually one or two people, whose job it is to say, you there, you look like you have a pulse, I need you to judge. And it's their job to make sure every room has the number of judges that they need. They also are the ones that are, and they make sure they get a ballot in their hand so that when they show up at the room, they have everything they need. And they also make sure that the competitors know where they're going as well. So they are the ones who, when you talk about judge rounds starting on time, this job is a big one. Because if you don't have all the judges and the competitors in the right place, then it doesn't start on time.
Yeah, but ballot push can't be in charge of the competitors getting there. That has to be communications or somebody else.
That's a good point. That's a good point. It's really it's up to the students to get there themselves, but occasionally you have to run somebody down who's wandered off into the woods or something. I'm kidding. They don't usually wander off into the woods.
No, they do.
They do.
They run.
The next one is the speech questions and prompts. You'll notice that some of the events, like extemporaneous speaking, impromptu, Mars Hill, apologetics, those all have prompts that have to be created. Now, some of those are prompts that are known up front, and there's just a database of all those, and all you got to do is create the handouts for the rooms. But for like extemporaneous speaking, you gotta write those. Somebody has to write those. So there are people in our midst that love doing that, and so this can be one person that just likes doing that, or you can try to recruit somebody to be on your team to do it. But I think
The alumni love writing extent questions.
They do. They write really hard ones too. But you can do it that way. I'm sorry, I forgot to say. So this is probably like one or two people to do this, to do hospitality and orientation. You might could do it with one. The speech ballot push is probably a team of two, maybe three.
Oh no, that requires 3 or 4, depending on how big the tournament is. Yeah.
But again, this person's job would be to orchestrate that and to be there. They don't have to do it all themselves. This can probably be one person. Maybe get some help from somebody.
One person.
Probably one person can do that. Speech tournament unique administration. So obviously this is a supplement to this overall tournament administration. But let me tell you what that means. Speech administration would be like script submission. So those are they're using prepared speeches. Somebody has to review or ingest all of those speech scripts. You have to organize an extemp prep room monitor. There's somebody, where they prepare for extemporaneous speaking, there has to be somebody in the room calling out times, hey, your prep time is done, you need to go to your room. So this is a team here, this tournament admin. This is also where the execution coordinator, the one that's like running around finding why there isn't a student in the room that's supposed to be there. You need people that are just running around finding people that are lost. And then there's an expository technical support as well. So expos can use a projector. They forever don't work right, or they don't have the right plug, or their computer dies, or whatever. And you just need somebody that's kind of IT savvy that can help hold their hand and figure it out if it doesn't work. Try to take some of that burden off the students who are nervous about other stuff. And then Jessica, there it is at the bottom, a junior tournament director. It's a little miniature version of all this stuff. I'm certain that this is going to require a mini team to pull that together, but it's not nearly as complex as all this, because it's just, how many rounds do you think we do? How many did we do last year?
I think just 3.
We did the same as the.
Yeah, same. They
general
followed.
Oh, we did.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they just used 2 rules, but we did this.
It's six
final
pa-
rounds.
six-
We didn't do
2
a final, but.
Okay.
2 patterns, 3 rounds.
So I didn't attempt to figure out how much of this can be fed by the rest of this. I don't know, but I'm sure there's a lot of shared infrastructure that can serve the junior tournament while doing all this other stuff. Okay, any questions on speech? Hopefully it's clear that a speech tournament director needs to work with all the people, both yellow and green. Now, what color do you think that debate's going to be?
Purple. Blue.
Of course. Do you guys not remember the Ziploc commercial, yellow, blue, and green? I can't forget that, so I'm always making yellow, blue, and green. Anytime you got to merge them together, they're green. Okay, so you got the debate over here. It's very similar, except there is no junior debate, so that one's missing on the bottom. You've got to take care of your debate judges with hospitality and get them oriented on Friday. All the yellow stuff is on Saturday. This is all on Friday. You got the same thing to do to push the ballots. Again, much easier because it's only one event, it's parliamentary debate.
And one judge per round.
One judge until you get to the finals. So it's a much less activity going on in this one. Debate prompts. So parliamentary debate uses a different prompt every time. So this is probably an individual person that can do this, write the prompts. And then you've got debate tournament unique admin, and that one just looks like, I guess it's the same kind of things as the other one. Like making sure people are in the right place, that sort of stuff. Okay. These are the roles we have to fill. My hope is that I've given you at least enough information that you can kind of say, yeah, that kind of sounds like me. I think I could do that. Or at least it's close enough that I can figure it out from there. One incentive that we do, it's really more of a thank you. The speech and debate tournament directors do end up taking on a lot of responsibility, and so one thing that we do as a club is we reimburse the first child. Is that what we do?
It's just $100.
$100,
It was the first child.
which was $125, I
I
think.
think so.
So whatever you paid to register your first child, we give it back to you as a thank you for being a tournament director. Just a-
Annual club registration, not
You're-
like.
Yes, for club registration, which you all paid because you wouldn't be sitting here if you hadn't done that. Everybody pays for the tournament like everybody else, but this we give, it's just a thank you back. It's not a lot of money, but I just wanted you to know that we do that as a club. Just for the top 2, the directors. So I'm going to stop there. I do have one final wrap up, but this is the meat of it. Everything I've showed you was leading up to this. Ideally, I would love to walk out of here tonight with a name next to every box on here. And again, each of these boxes doesn't mean it's a single person's job, because you may then have to go recruit a little mini team to do it once you learn more about what it's going to require. But if we had an owner for every one of these, then our speech and debate tournament directors would know who their team is, and they would know who they can start working with to get things done. Because believe it or not, we're signing the contract next week, and it all starts next week.